This is the third video regarding concrete slabs. In this video, we will show you some examples of how to deal with one-way slabs or how to deal with the load transfer plan of one-way slabs. Let's start with a very simple example. You have a rectangular floor slab, or it's a roof slab, sorry, and we want to create this roof slab by using one-way elements. You cannot do it directly with a span of 3.3 meters because to have a one-way slab, the shortest distance must be at least or must be half of the longest distance. So if you use it like that, it will be a two-way slab. So now we have to think about a certain system, and we can use, for instance, a beam in this direction. Then this will be a one-way slab. This will also be a one-way slab. Or we can use the other direction. Then we have three beams with less span, and then we put the one-way slabs in this direction. In a second example, we have a square slab, and we want to make this slab in one-way elements, one-way bearing elements. The most simple solution is just to take one beam, and then we can use wide floor slabs, or we can use precast slabs, or we can use in situ concrete. But this can be made as a one-way slab. This is because the 2.4 meters is less than half of 4.8 meters. A third example, we have now a rectangle by 4.2 times 5.2, and all four edges are simply supported on masonry, and the roof slab must consist of one-way bearing elements, and the use of beams or other additional supporting elements are not allowed because of clear distance, let's say something, because there's no room for it. So you cannot use beams or any supporting elements, but still the roof must be a one-way slab. How do we deal with that? Well, it's simple. We just make sure that the slab is only touching this side and only touching this side. This is a supporting brickwork or bearing brick masonry, and this also bearing masonry. The one-way slab is coming from the left to the right, and this in fact is you can call it a joint, but it's not a real joint. It's just a concrete touching the wall. A fourth example is a trapezoidal plan view, like this mentioned here, and the contractor wants to use one-way slabs. Now, this is not possible. Why? Because they are not parallel to each other. You can try to put some beams in it. At the end, you will not succeed in making parallel sides of it. So this will always be a two-way slab. You cannot solve it with one-way slabs. A fifth example, this is voids, for instance, in the middle of a slab of a building or a floor plan of a building, 18 meters by 12 meters. You see the different dimensions here. And the contractor also wants to build this floor with one-way slabs. Now we can make now a construction plan or a load-bearing plan. And the green elements are beams, so we can put a beam here, beam there, the same here, and then the same there. And then you see that in every square, this is for instance of a rectangular, this is 6 meters by 3 meters, so 2 times 3 is 6, so this is one-way slab this too. This is direction. I mentioned the direction of the load transfer. It's very important. And now you have a load-bearing plan where you can easily see how this total slab can be made out of one-way slabs. Another example is this one. Then we will use load-bearing masonry as this. Joints will mark in yellow, non-bearing masonry in brown or orange, and beams in blue. When we look for a solution, then you will see that the orange is, or the brown is non-bearing masonry. You have here small bearing masonries of small beams. It can also be a small beam, but it will be small. It will be an bearing masonry, load bearing masonry, where you put the beams on top of it to support. And then you see you can divide the whole area into one-way slabs. This type of plan is called a load-bearing plan. You have open space. This is a floor plan of a building, of an office building. And then we do now the same exercise. Now practical all walls are load bearing except those in the corner. And you have 4 beams and you use the fan method. It's called the fan because this type of structure is a fan. And every floor is now a one-way slab. You can have more complicated constructions, like for instance, this type of floor. We can easily make it a one-way slab floor by using the yellow one. It means that the floor is touching the masonry. It's not going over the masonry. So it's not a real joint in practice, but it's poured against it, not on top of it. This is load bearing. This is also load bearing because of this beam. And then you see how this can be converged into a one-way slab.